How do you prepare for a pre-sentence investigation interview? In a federal case, the pre-sentence report is one of the most important documents in your entire case. The pre-sentence report is prepared by the United States Probation Office, and it will be used a number of different ways. It will be a starting point for sentencing. So it will tell the judge a little bit of information about you, about the alleged offense, your criminal history, and it will, for the first time, give the court a proposed sentencing range. In other words, based on your criminal history and your relevant conduct, the probation officer is going to look at the United States sentencing guidelines and on that chart tell the court what your sentencing range should be within the statutory range that you pled to. So if you pled to an offense that's 0 to 20 years, you might get a range that says, Judge, we think the appropriate sentence would be between 144 months and 160 months. Now, that's advisory. The judge doesn't have to follow that, but I would consider that a starting point for the judge's consideration. The pre-sentence report contains a lot of information that's going to be helpful at other junctures in the process. So for example, the Bureau of Prisons is going to take a look at the pre-sentence report, and that will help determine where you're housed. If you have special medical needs, the Bureau of Prisons is going to try to put you in a place where those medical needs can be addressed. Another thing that the Bureau of Prisons is looking for is whether or not you qualify for and have asked for treatment through the residential drug treatment program. A lot of people who have addiction issues want to take advantage of the RDAP program so that their sentence can be reduced. Your pre-sentence report is going to follow you throughout your stay in federal prison. It is going to be used at every juncture where they need information about your case, including when they're evaluating when you should be released and where to put you as you get closer to release. Because one of the things Bureau of Prisons tries to do is as you get close to your release, they try to get you back as close to home as possible so you can start redeveloping those relationships or contacting the network that could help you once you're released. It is critically important to sit down with your attorney and prepare properly for the pre-sentence report. It requires a lot of true soul searching to answer those questions properly and to set yourself up to maximize the impact that you're going to have with the judge at sentencing. So for example, a probation officer might ask you about your childhood. And it's very common for people to say, my basic needs were met, my childhood was okay. But once you start digging deeper, you find the things that made a person's life different than their neighbors, than their friends, things that they were exposed to in the home, outside of the home, disadvantages they had. Because if you can get that in through the pre-sentence interview process, and the probation officer includes that in the pre-sentence report, it is going directly to the judge's ears. And there's a presumption that anything contained in the pre-sentence report is credible. So it is a fantastic way to get information to the judge so that the judge can see another side of who you are, more than the prosecutors are going to put out there, more than the probation officer would have found on their own. I make a point of taking the probation officer's questionnaire to my client before we actually get to the interview. My client and I will go through every single question that probation is going to ask. Oftentimes, I will fill out the entire form using my own words, my client's words, so that we can get that to probation in advance of our actual interview. That does a number of things. Probation officers have an overwhelming volume of work that they have to complete. The easier we make their job, the more likely they will use our own statements in their pre-sentence investigation report, or the PSR. That gives us the ability to craft and tailor our responses to what we hope the judge will know about our client. Additionally, it minimizes the risk that someone could forget something that's really important that they would want to tell probation, or to inadvertently say something that they shouldn't. Ultimately, the pre-sentence interview is a critical moment in the criminal process, and you and your attorney need to prepare adequately for that interview in order for you to get the best possible sentence. This video was made in response to a question we received on this channel. If you have a question about criminal law in Texas or federal criminal law, drop a comment below and we'll be sure to answer that. You can also check us out at versestexas.com.